Hey, welcome back to the Here's the Deal channel. This is Here's the Deal on YouTube. It is High Impact Flicks on X and High Impact Flicks Official on Rumble. I want to ask you a question just starting off. Can a moral person who hates evil and loves good, if it is within their power to do something good or to stop evil, can a moral person just stand idly by while evil happens, while crimes are committed? And I'm saying, if you have the power to stop it, would you just let evil happen? That's my question. That's how I'm going to start this off. Because in my opinion, the worst possible person that you could be in the world is an order follower. Let's go back to the Nuremberg trials. I was just doing my job. I was just following orders. I didn't write the laws. I just enforced them. Thereby, this person right here is abdicating his responsibility and his accountability to the human race, saying that he did evil because he was told to do evil. What do you think about that kind of person? Hey, I just did evil, or I failed to prevent evil because I was told not to prevent evil. I was told to do evil, therefore I did it. I was told not to prevent evil, so I just went ahead and let it happen. The worst possible, I don't care who you are. If you let evil happen and you could have stopped it, or if you promoted or enforced evil and you didn't have to because the buck could have stopped with you, you're a cruddy garbage person, and I don't care what your excuse is. If anybody disagrees with me in the chat, let me know. Thank you for joining me. This is how I'm going to start this video, because we're going to be talking about Brandon Tatum, or the officer Brandon Tatum. Actually, I should have pulled up his YouTube channel because he's got like 3 or 4 million people following him. He's an ex-officer from the state of Arizona. He became an officer back in 2010. I'm not sure all the circumstances on why he quit, but I do call him Officer Soften Him Up Brandon Tatum. And the reason I call him Soften Him Up Tatum is because, here, let me just do this. Let's see how many. Yeah, he's got 3.4 million followers. This is his channel right here. He's a big dude. He was All-American in high school and college. He went to the NFL draft. He has NFL, one Super Bowl, I think, uncle or whatever. So this guy was a law enforcement officer. And the reason I call him Brandon Soften Him Up Tatum is because he did a video, and I looked for it before I did this. I couldn't find it, but I did it years ago, 2 years ago on him. But he said that it was okay for a 40-something-year-old cop to tackle, get on top of, and straddle a little stick figure kid. And I'm talking about teenager. He wasn't even like 12, 13 years old, and was just punching him in the chest. And Brandon Tatum said he was okay with that. He wasn't punching him in the face or anything. And he was just trying to soften him up. Well, you know what the kid had done? The kid didn't commit a crime. He didn't steal property. He didn't damage property. He wasn't threatening anybody. He didn't harm anybody. He was buying a tobacco product, and the cop was interfering with the transaction. And Brandon Soften Him Up Tatum said it's okay for that cop to get on top of him and soften him up. So in Brandon Tatum's eyes, if the adult or the human being is wearing a uniform, it's okay for him to abuse a kid. I ain't okay with that. I consider that as evil. Brandon Tatum says it's okay, but then again, he's an order follower, and I'm going to show you how much of an order follower he is in this video, because his Back the Blue motto completely backfired on him when he was at a Turning Point USA event on UC Davis campus, and his Thin Blue Line brothers left him high and dry because they was just following orders, and he admits that they were just following orders. He admits he's disappointed by them. But we're going to go over a bunch of things today. I hope you stay with me. I hope this is value added to you. We're going to try to make every second count on this. So let's go ahead and get into this right here. Brandon Soften Him Up Tatum. Here's his story about what went down on the UC Davis campus. And the name of this video is Antifa Punks Tried Me at UC Davis and effed around and found out.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I know y'all been waiting, anticipating for me to say something. I hadn't even spoken about this. I really needed a break last night. You know, after everything that went on, I wanted to give me something to eat. I just didn't want the riffraff. But today I'm here to describe what happened at UC Davis. First of all, I want to say how disappointed I am at the police department's response to these things that happened at UC Davis.
So let's clarify, because a lot of people are going, well, this was just campus security. That wasn't the cops. It was local law enforcement. And he even acknowledges it's local law enforcement. So what exactly did they do, or what did they fail to do that they should have done? Listen to this.
And I love the police, and y'all know I love the police, and I support them. And I think as individual cops there, they were good people. But somehow
the individual cops were good people. Now he lets just completely cloud his judgment that those individual people are responsible for their individual actions or their inaction. This is super important, because when you were talking about bootlickers, and let me just segue just a little bit here. I just uploaded that video about the guy at the car wash who was driving that truck that had the thin blue, back the blue sticker on it. And people are like, come on, to be fair, that's his girlfriend's truck. Number one, if your girlfriend backs the blue, you need to get a new girlfriend. Listen, guys, this is how serious this is. This is how serious the tyranny and the evil and the death and the destruction and the innocent people sitting in jail right now. This is how serious this is. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. There's 1.2 or 2.1 million people sitting in prison. A large percentage of those are in prison because cops arrested them for possessing plant matter. They didn't harm, threaten, harm, steal property, damage property, just possession of plant matter. That is evil. So when you have a back the blue sticker, you might as well have a Nazi swastika on there. Are you going to drive a truck, whether it's your girlfriend's truck, or if it was borrowed, or if you just rented it, or you just purchased it? Are you actually going to drive around with a swastika on the back or the side of your vehicle anywhere, knowing full well that it represents committing grave atrocities to a large amount of people in a short period of time? No, you're not. No, you're not. If you're a moral human being, you can't do that. I will walk. I will get a new girlfriend. I'll buy a new truck, or I'll just do the easy thing. I'll scrape it off my window. So the guy doesn't get a pass because he's driving around a truck that's not his with a back the blue logo on it. No. How long has he been driving around? Why would you feel comfortable doing that? And then the people are like, well, he obviously didn't back the blue because he gave them resistance and didn't give up their ID. That doesn't mean that. Actions speak louder than words. And when you're driving around with a truck that says back the blue, you might as well go back the Nazi Gestapo. Back Joseph Stalin. I back Mao Zedong. I back legalized mass murder. I back the incarceration of innocent people. So when you're back in the blue, you don't get a pass, man. This is 2025. You have easy access to the internet on your cell phone, on a computer, anywhere, to find out exactly how bad police are. How many videos? I don't have enough time in the day to review and edit the amount of videos and the amount of tyranny just on American soil, let alone what's going on in Great Britain, all the rights abuses in Australia and New Zealand. So let's listen to this guy. You don't get a pass when you individually make a decision to stand down while a crime is being committed. You are an evil human being. I don't know what's going on with you, especially if you're trained to combat crime and criminals. You're armed up. You got your buddies with you.
They have directives that they are not to engage with these people whatsoever. I'm just going to lay it out for you.
Okay, let's just go back. Let's go back.
I love the police, and y'all know I
love the police.
The police, and I support them. And I think as individual cops there, they were good people. But somehow they have directives that they are not to engage with these people whatsoever.
Then guess what a moral person does? A moral person goes, directives? Screw your directives. Remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? Screw your freedoms. Bow down to Big Pharma. Get the shot. No, screw your freaking directives. Somebody's getting mugged. Property's getting stolen and damaged. Lives are being jeopardized. And you're going to stand down when your entire MO is supposed to be to protect and serve. And we'll get into Descheny versus Winnebago County. And we'll get into Gonzalez versus Castle Rock and the fact that cops have no legal obligation or duty to protect anyone. We'll get into that in a second. But Brandon Tatum is going to give these guys a pass because they may have had a directive from above to stand down. That is ridiculous and infuriating. All right, let's go on.
I'm just going to lay it out for you, and then we're going to play the video. They literally, we had an event. They only had a few cops there. They literally watched this Antifa-style group with masks on, dressed in all black, chanting and screaming, come up to Turning Point's booth, tear everything up. They hitting people. They throwing stuff on people. They're trying to damage the cameras. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The cops and the administrators are watching this. And then I come to campus.
Watching the crimes happen. What's up? I am free inland auditing. How you doing, man? The cops. So let me just summarize. Brandon Tatum is admitting, I love the police. I love the group of people who watched crimes committing before their very eyes, had the capability of throwing down those crimes and apprehending those criminals and protecting us, and they didn't do it. And he still loves him some police. If that doesn't freaking rile you up and boil your blood, I don't know what will, man. If you have a righteous bone in your body, if you have an inkling about what is right and wrong in this world, you know that this guy is off his freaking rocker to continue to back an organization made up of individuals who literally stand down in the face of criminal activity. Unfreaking believable, man. I can feel, it's almost like I can feel the steam coming out of my ears with this guy. Hey, Brandon, if you get this video, I want to be on your show because I want to challenge you, and I want to take a jackhammer to your freaking cognitive dissonance. You've got 3.4 million people who hit the subscribe button on your channel that buy your freaking merch, and you're literally going to say that the worst people among us get a pass for standing down in the face of criminality. I can't even hardly sit here. It's so infuriating.
Came after the first time it got crazy. And I'm talking to them and I'm saying, hey, my guys here are saying they got assaulted a minute ago.
Yes, Dan. This is the guy who's an ex-SWAT team member who loves him some Donald Trump. He loves the guy who wants to institute a federal blanket of qualified immunity in addition to the qualified immunity that cops already enjoy in almost all 50 states. I think there's only 4 states that don't recognize qualified immunity, and still they commit atrocities against the people they're supposed to be protecting and serving. Yes, this is that Brandon Tatum.
Guys, are you guys going to protect us? Are you guys able to protect us? And we could not get a real answer. And protecting us to the police department meant they're just going to line up cops. And I asked them in all truth and all honesty, so the cops can't get mad at me or nothing. I said, if they come back, are you guys going to use force? Because you standing here and letting them beat everybody up, which we know they ain't. Y'all know, man, I told you I'm not playing.
Brandon Tatum is a big dude. You'll see in this video. I didn't realize Brandon Tatum was that big of a dude, but maybe the people who were terrorizing and you'll see they take away his entire tent. They destroy all the signs in front of the cops. I don't know if Brandon Tatum is a freaking statist and he's a cop lover and a bootlicker, but he says some pretty funny things in here. Okay, let's keep going.
Y'all gonna use force, pepper spray, anything? He said, no, we're not gonna do any of that. We'll shut the event down and we'll escort you guys out. And I said, listen, sir, if they come to this booth, I'm going to protect these people that are at the booth. I'm not going to let them come in here and just beat people up. Are we on the same page? But I want y'all to watch the video because if you missed it, this is the craziness that was happening. Is this the collage one, the one with most of them, or this is the first one? The compilation. I said collage, compilation. So this will get a little, and I'll walk you through the context of what you're looking at, because it's not very clear if you wasn't there. But what I'm looking at now, if it plays from here, this is the second time this group of nut jobs showed up on campus, and they hit this lady in the head. The one that's right here. We got a video of them coming and hitting her in the back of the head.
If the people committing the crimes are the nut jobs, what do you call the people who were trained to stop the crime but didn't stop the crime? What do you call them, Brandon? You still love them, don't you? You still support them, don't you? You're just a little disappointed in them, aren't you?
In front of the cops. And then you're going to see me walk over to the cops and be like, why they just...
Yeah, don't forget. Thanks, Allie. I appreciate you being a member. Don't forget, become a member. Become a member of this channel. We are going to spread this message of freedom, and we are going to institute changes. I got positive vibes about all this stuff, but I can't do it without you. So become a member right now. Allie says 314 watching, 131 likes. Hit that like button. I appreciate it.
Get in the head. And y'all not going to do anything? And then I had to step up because the women were there, and I didn't know if they were going to come and try to beat the women up and do stuff to them. We'll see. He wrote a clip.
Watch out. Watch out. Hey,
I'm telling
hey, Jackson, slow down.
That's actually interesting. I didn't notice that until just now, that all these black masked, black hoodie wearing people came in kind of by stealth behind these signs. This is definitely a coordinated effort. Here's Brandon Tatum right here standing in the forefront. And notice how the cops just stand down as Brandon Tatum is doing all the work. No. I don't think Brandon Tatum initiated the violence. He pushed this bike away because that guy was pushing the bike toward him. All these black people, these black clothed people are getting into Turning Point. And guys, I'm not pro Turning Point USA at all. But when somebody threatens your existence and gets into your space and pushes them forward toward you, that's when you can deal with them. It's not initiation with a force when somebody's pushing their bike toward you. I don't have any problem with what Brandon Tatum did here.
Get in there. Get in there.
Look, this guy's trying to tell. Look, the cops standing around just following the criminals as the criminals make off with property that doesn't belong to them.
This is the second time they came to campus, and they watched them walk up after they had already done what you finna see in a minute, and then they did all this, hit that lady in the head, and they don't pursue not one of these people. They don't go after the weakest one. They don't even give commands or not. They did absolutely nothing. Roll the clip.
Look at the cops just following after doing nothing to the criminals.
They're just walking. They let them take all of our property.
Now the cops will pull you over. The cops will harass you. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't steal anybody's stuff. You just went 3 miles an hour over the speed limit, or they said you did, or they said you were driving under the influence. We saw that report coming out of WSMV in Nashville, where 607 occurrences of DUIs had to be thrown out because the people weren't intoxicated and they weren't under the influence of any drugs. The cops just fabricated. They made it up. They fabricate, they escalate, and they retaliate. Fear. They operate under fear. FEAR. Fabricate, escalate, and retaliate. That's what cops do. That's the plane they operate on. And if they're order followers, if they're told to stand down in the face of crime, they will. If they're told to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong under the color of traffic law, they'll do that. They'll do whatever they're told because they're order followers. And here's Brandon Tatum acting like he's all shocked that the cops stood down in the face of criminality. But what would they do to you and me? They treat innocent people as though they're criminals, and they treat innocent people as though they're or criminals as though they're innocent people. It's upside down world with these cops.
Hey!
This is what they did before I got there. I literally.
Okay, so this is what they did the first time around. James, thanks for becoming a member. This is the first time around. The cops had 2 chances to do the right thing. Both times they failed. And this is only disappointing to Brandon Tatum.
Was on the phone with the Turning Point guy, and I said, "Hey man, where y'all at on campus? Because we can't drive up. I'm gonna have to get out and walk." And he like, "Hey, the protesters, they're attacking us." And he hung up in my face. I'm like, "That's weird. I guess the protest's gonna be good today." I didn't realize they did all this. Roll the clip.
Hey!
This is active property destruction. You can defend against this. This doesn't violate the non-aggression principle. If they get in your space, you don't have to wait for a baseball bat or a switchblade or a gun to come out. You can defend your space. That doesn't violate the non-aggression principle.
Hey! Wow!
And the cops are letting it go.
Hey, get the cops here! Get the cops!
Look at this.
Look at him.
Tearing up the speakers, the amps, the microphones, the cameras. This is major property theft and destruction.
Look, throwing stuff at people.
I love what Free Dom says. Thanks for that super chat too, by the way. The police did nothing. If the people were under 12 years or older than 60, they'd step in. This is what they do every time. Welcome to the movement, Brandon. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's coming to the movement, the anti-cop movement, anytime soon. And remember, when we're talking about anti-cop movement, we're talking about anti-tyranny, no matter what face it has, no matter what uniform it wears. If it comes in a suit and tie, or if it comes into a clown costume with a badge and a uniform and a utility belt, I don't care what form it comes in. Tyranny is tyranny. And you can say all day long, well, general safety, the general welfare, it's protecting and serving. But when your actions speak and tell a different story, I'm just doing this because the Supreme Court said it's illegal for you to have a gun. Well, then you're an order follower. You're not doing what is right, because that person that has that gun, even if they had a criminal history from 10 years ago and you still count them a felon, you don't have the right to take that person's firearm away from them when they haven't committed a crime.
Look, what are they doing to that man? All right, hold on. Pause it. Because y'all finna see me in action again.
Hold on a second. Let's see. What were they doing to the guy? Let's see. Yeah, look at this. Right here. Right here. Look at this. Look. 1, 2, 3 guys on this one guy, this older guy.
What are they doing to that man?
How can you not defend that? Thank you, Warren. Thanks for being a member. How can you not defend somebody, an innocent person who's being attacked by multiple people? Even if you were just one cop, you should at least try, right? But there's not just one cop. There's more than one cop in the scene, and they're trained for this. That's why they have the vests. That's why they have the pepper spray. That's why they have the cuffs. They'll use the pepper spray and the cuffs and the taser and the gun on you and your pets when they break into the wrong freaking house at 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing they're at the wrong house and then laughing about it. We see how evil they can be. We see how conniving they can be. We see how eager they are to violate 18 USC 241, for example. They conspire against our rights all the time, but they can't muster the strength to deal with real criminality. This is the burr that really, really digs in under my saddle here.
All right, hold on. Pause it. Because y'all finna see me in action again. First of all, just so y'all know, these were the weakest. I can smell the soy powder on these fools. They weak.
You gotta admit, man, that is just freaking funny.
Weak, incel, non-binaries. The weakest people on earth. Honest to God truth. if they had decided to become physical, I could have knocked out 6 of them easy, one by one. But they weren't throwing punches at me. So I'm just pushing them out of the way. Get out of the way. Get away from us. Because they came in there and they destroyed property.
Jim F says the estrogen gang. Hilarious. I mean, I got to give credit where credit is due. This is pretty freaking hilarious what Brandon Tatum just said there.
They stole all our stuff. So here's another view of me where I'm talking to the cop. I said, they just punched the girl in the face. Are y'all going to do anything? And as you can see, the young lady.
Yeah, that is a good point right there. They were outnumbered. Cops only act when they have advantage because they're cowards. Yeah, exactly. It's just that, you know, in the spirit of William Wallace, I just can't see being trained and being equipped to take care of something when you see a person, especially an older person, being abused by multiple people, and you're trained in combat to take care of this, and you're equipped, how you can just stand by. Like how can, even if you had the directives to stand down, you would disobey that directive and you would just have to go with your conscience and just let the chips fall where they may, man. You are going to defend the innocent person, and by gosh, you are going to stand on what is right. And I got to go to sleep at night anyway. If it's with some bumps and bruises or jobless, at least I know in my heart of hearts I did the right thing.
Lady started walking back towards the crowd, so I walked with her. Off camera, I tried to push them away from our stuff because they were going to steal it all. And
we're going to talk about Uvalde. Did somebody bring up Uvalde? I Am Free says, great point on Uvalde.
Them fell down like little cowards. And then the one non-binary, trinary, or whatever it is, with the bike was talking crazy and being threatening. And I just had to, you know, let them know that soul will come out of you. You mess around with the wrong people. Roll the clip. See, that's when I hit the whole crowd of them. And then that little one was talking crazy. Man, you better get your weight up, bro. Go back. Look at that part. Just go. You better get that. I put that T-force on. Man, you better get your weight up. Then they started trying to talk. Look, they just pointing a finger at me. Man, get back.
You know, I could be wrong, but I don't have a problem with that, man. Because that guy, the guy on the bike with all masked up, represents the band of hooligans. Now, somebody could, you know, I could see how somebody can make an argument. Well, he didn't lay a hand on Brandon, so Brandon should not have pushed him. When you got that guy and you don't know if the entire crowd's going to be turned against you, and I may be just trying to justify here, but I don't know that I wouldn't have done the same thing right there.
Right.
All of these people, including the guy who's on the bike, was engaged in plotting criminality against innocent people who didn't do anything to deserve the criminality that was befalling them.
Look, she holding the back of her head. Look at him. Look at him scurrying back. I could have took half of them easy. They were all super weak and soft. Now, I'm not the person to condone violence, but I do condone defending yourself. And I do condone you defending other people.
Actually, you know what? That's not true. Brandon Tatum condones violence as long as the violence is being initiated by badged clowns called law enforcement. He was on a SWAT team. He conducted his own violence. He approves of violence by older men on younger, much weaker kids. He does condone violence. When you support the Thin Blue Line and love them, like Brandon Tatum just admitted that he does, he absolutely does condone violence. The police initiation of violence, but violence nonetheless. So he's actually being a liar. He's not being honest. Because violence is violence. The initiation of violence that we saw today on that video that the civil rights lawyer did, that I also covered, where that guy was just peacefully washing his car at the car wash, did absolutely nothing wrong. And even if he was passing a bag, or he purchased a bag of white substance that ended up being the white substance that we all know about, he didn't harm anybody. He didn't victimize anybody, but he got victimized by the violent thugs of the thin blue line. And Brandon condones that kind of violence. So listen, when he says this,
to condone violence, super weak and soft. Now
he says,
I'm not the condone. I'm not the person to condone violence, but I do condone defending yourself.
yeah, that's BS. When you support the thin blue line, you condone violence. That's why I came down so hard on Jake from that car wash incident, because he's driving around in a truck, whether it's his or not, with a Back the Blue badge on it. In other words, I condone thin blue line police state violence. Screw that. There is no you cannot leave a nanoparticle of that on the table and expect anybody who's got any moral fiber in their being to accept that as legitimate. No, you cannot. That's how we've gotten where we've gotten. We've compromised. We have not suspected anyone who's come near that precious jewel of freedom. Guard with jealous attention the public liberty, not safety, not security, liberty. Suspect anyone who comes near that precious jewel, including the people that say they're there to protect and serve that precious jewel. Nothing will preserve it but downright force. And that is the legitimate force. The force that says, oh, you're trying to touch my freedoms? No, that ain't going to happen. Not on my watch. That's why Patrick Henry said, give me liberty or I will die. I will go to the grave rather than live as a slave.
And I do condone you defending other people. That police officer in me can't just die down when people are just assaulting people and stealing property. Some people,
that police officer in me. Yeah, we're going to pick apart this guy's words. That thin blue line badged Nazi Gestapo tyrant in me can't go away. See, he is actually, I didn't even notice it until just now. It's just, it's coming to my realization. He is conflating what a normal, righteously indignant person would do and laying over that what a police officer would do. He's actually saying the righteous act is going to come out of this police officer in me. That is BS. The thing that's coming out of you is this inkling of justice, the little bit of justice that you have left going on in your heart. Otherwise, you're completely sold out of the thin blue line. This is infuriating. This is off the Richter scale infuriating to me. And the reason is because he's calling black white and white black. He's putting bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter, darkness for light, light for darkness. Like, what is it? Isaiah 5:20 in the Bible. He's conflating, he's twisting things around and ascribing righteousness and the moral high ground to the actions of a thin blue line, when really what it is a real righteous person doing the right thing in the right circumstances if you're actually equipped to do it. I.e., if you see a crime being committed and you have the power to stop it, you will at least try to stop it. Or you'll be of the mindset of, over my dead body, I have the power to stop this, and I'm going to at least try, which those cops didn't.
Say I was the only officer on duty that day. Now, let me say this. After all that, at first we were going to pick up shop and leave because I couldn't guarantee that the video guys wouldn't get attacked again. Now, I know I'm good, but I didn't know if they would get attacked. So then they put a bunch of cops around us, and we were able to continue the event. And the cops are not going to do nothing anyway. They were just there. You know what I'm saying? And then the weenies were afraid of the cops, and then the other ones left the campus.
Cops are not going to do anything anyway. And he says weenies were afraid of the cops. The cops were the weenies. They're the biggest hypocrites and liars and cowards on that campus. And if here's the guarantee. If Brandon Tatum got the order to stand down as a police officer, because he was a police officer back in 2010, he would have stood down.
But it was very, very disheartening to me that the next generation of people that got to work in America, which we all know they're going to end up creating universal income, and these nut jobs that have no education, that cannot have a disagreement with somebody without being violent and cussing and spitting and being crazy, they're going to be the ones getting universal income because they have no skill to do anything in the workforce.
And there's more hypocrisy coming out of Brandon Tatum. See, when you're a police officer, I genuinely believe, because we can look at the proof, that their minds get warped and their hearts get darkened. Who's going to bring online UBI? Who's been talking about universal basic income? That's this guaranteed income, whether you work or not. His pal, Elon Musk. You're going to see in the next clip, he appears on Fox News with a Doge shirt. Now, I'm not Republican or Democrat, but I will tell you this. Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, just name it, all down the line. John McCain, when he was alive, they all work for the same team owners, and so does Elon Musk, and so does Peter Thiel, and so does Warren Buffett, and so does Bill Gates, and all those billionaires work together. So this hypocrite right here is talking about being against UBI when his buddy in Doge, Elon Musk, because this guy's in really good with the White House staff, is going to bring online one of the most evil, technocratic police states known to man. See, you cannot let your heart be corrupted. If you let your heart be corrupted, we will sink deeper into darkness than you ever would believe is possible. And that's what's happening with people like this.
It was embarrassing and sad that most of the people that were surrounding us, I don't know how all the people on campus felt because they weren't there, but most of the people surrounding us couldn't even have a coherent conversation. I had one guy tell me that police officers kill 90,000 people a year. Do you know how insane that is? 90,000 a year. I said, bro, look it up on
listen to this part. Listen to this part right here.
On your phone. If they kill 90,000 people a year, I'd be upset. No.
Okay, but how many people did they kill? It's like 1,200, but he's not upset. Why? Because that's an allowable number to him. So at what point does law enforcement murder of people they're supposed to be protecting and serving, at what point does it become unacceptable to him? It's kind of like I ask people who support Donald Trump, how much evil does the guy actually have to do? How much dollar devaluation and wrecking of your time, the product of your time and laboring energies, does he have to do? How much does he have to sell out to Israel for you to actually go, you know what? Probably wasn't a good idea for me to vote for Donald Trump. It's like Barack Obama. How much, if you're pro Donald Trump and you're anti Barack Obama, how much good would Barack Obama have to do for you to support him? In like manner, how much evil would Donald Trump have to do for you to withdraw your support? There's so much hypocrisy involved in federal, state, and local policing and in left versus right paradigm lie politics that it makes your head swim. Because if you're pro politics, left or right, you are engaging in that which is inherently corrupt and hypocritical and perverted, which is demoralizing all by itself. So listen to what this guy says here. This is so freaking fascinating.
90,000 phone. If they killed 90,000.
So he's saying if the police killed 90,000, thank you, Freedom. He says if cops were for the people, they would have fought the Supreme Court for the right to protect people and fought against taking people's money through civil asset forfeiture. That's another really good point, man. There's so many things. There's so many things that we can get into on this, but I want to kind of stay focused right here. So Brandon Tatum says, if cops were responsible for killing 90,000 people, he would be against cops. But I mean, Dom brings out a good point. Cops, every sheriff, which is 3,086 sheriffs in the nation. There's 3,144 counties in the nation, and not every county has sheriffs. There's like 40 something, 50 something counties that don't have sheriffs. Every sheriff, and I'm not talking about deputies, I'm talking about every sheriff signed Sheriff Jim Skinner's admonition of HR 1525, where they went to Dan Red Flag Law, I Patch McCain Crenshaw, and said, hey, you got to let us keep civil asset forfeiture. It's the power that we need to combat the Mexican drug cartels. But civil asset forfeiture isn't being launched against the Mexican drug cartels. It's being launched against peaceful people like Stephen Lara in Nevada, who's traveling from Texas through Nevada to get to California to provide for and spend time with his daughters. But the Nevada Highway Patrol steal $87,000 from this guy, his life savings, and he's a Marine. And the guys who pulled him over and stole his money were also Marines. So fellow Marines, because they're Thin Blue Line cult members, order followers, actually stole Stephen Lara, former Marine's life savings under civil asset forfeiture, which is literally, it can be rightly classified as legalized armed robbery. So when you get to Brandon Tatum and he says, hey, if it was 90,000 people dying at the hands of cops, I would be against law enforcement. So what's the number? What's the number, Brandon? 1,200 is not enough? How about 5,000, 10,000? What's the tipping point at which you would go, you know what? And then never mind the people that didn't die. How about the people who were economically terrorized through corporate traffic law or stupid Nixon era drug laws? Oh, you got a bag of dried plant matter? Well, I'm going to ruin your career for the rest of your life. Now you're going to have a felony on your record because I, as a police officer exercising my discretion, decided to pull you over and ruin your life. And I used it as a justification to get my foot in the door the fact that you didn't activate your turning signal 50 feet before you actually did, or your brake light was out, or your license plate wasn't properly illuminated, or the tint on your window, or your exhaust is too loud, or you went too fast, or you went too slow. Any single that's why they're freaking societal parasites. The Thin Blue Line gang members are societal parasites, economically raping and ruining you, literally raping and ruining you. There was just an Oklahoma State trooper that just got sentenced to jail for having sexual favors done to him to get somebody out of a ticket. And he's in jail right now. And the dumb arse did it on body and dash cam. Young guy. I mean, that's not rare. That's not rare. Knocking that old guy off of his bike, slamming him to the ground with his hands behind his back. You can tell he's in ill health. He just got out of the hospital, still got his hospital socks on. And he's going to say, hey man, I'm a young man. You're an old man. You made me do it. Literally the phraseology of actual abusers. That's what rapists say. Well, if her dress wasn't so short and she didn't act so provocatively, it's her fault that I did what I did. It's your fault I slammed to the ground, Mr. Unhealthy 65-year-old who has nothing in this world except a little bike and he's got a bag of food and that's it. Never been arrested in his life, he said. Or you're going to put torture cuffs on him and you're going to kidnap him because he hurt your feelings because he didn't pull over when you thought he should. And the only reason you pulled him over is because he didn't have a light on his bike. And guys, you know I haven't even come close to scratching the surface on how evil these badged misfits in society are. But Brandon Tatum's going, oh, no, you wouldn't. If it was 90,000, if it was 9 million, you'd still back the blue. Even though this happened to Brandon Tatum and they let the cops at UC Davis left him high and dry, he's going to continue to support the police. Why? Because his brain's gone and his heart is dark. Unbelievable. That's why we covered these things, man.
People a year, I'd be upset. 90,000.
Allie Bell. They laughed when this man pooped his pants. And the reason he pooped his pants is because he was slammed to the ground and he basically let go. And they laughed about it. Oh, let's get a bag. You better not get that on my back seat. If you get it on my back seat, you're going to have to clean it up. Is there another word than evil? I mean, we could use wicked. Any synonym will do. It's truly disgusting. Can you imagine as a young man? I can't imagine as an older man putting my hands on a 65-year-old, doubling up, double chicken wing, and then swinging him around and slamming him to the ground. Remember Lick Vu, that Vietnamese or Japanese guy who just tapped the lightly tapped the uniform of that one cop, and he double chicken winged him and slammed his skull to the ground, knocking off his glasses, terrifying his wife. I think that happened in Oklahoma. Put a one in the room if you remember Lick Vu. That's the guy's name. I can't remember if you remember the cop's name. Put it in the chat, because I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, because I think we should always remember the people who are terrors to society. It is a horrific video. And by the way, if we didn't have the surveillance camera of that little shopping center, they would just sweep this thing under the rug, man. But because they got a PR nightmare on their hands, and people saw how horrific it was, and it reached down into people's humanity, and they're like, everybody knows that's not right. Not only should this cop be fired, not only should his pension be liquidated, this guy should be behind bars. He's don't give him a gun, a uniform, and authority, man. What was that cop's name? Yeah, that is so. When I found that out, Y2 Kazan, I didn't know what to think, man. I didn't know what to think. Was his name Gibson? Officer Gibson. Okay, I'll take your word for it. For some reason, that's not ringing a bell. All right, let's get back to this. So Officer Brandon Tatum just got done saying that if cops, Oklahoma officer, a lot of people are saying it now. Brandon Tatum saying if the cops killed 90,000 people a year, even he, officer, the name of his channel is The Officer Tatum. The Officer Tatum would disavow the thin blue line. No, he wouldn't. He's lying. He's lying. He can't even be true.
He said 90,000 black people a year. And then they go off on this tangent because I was standing near the cops and they were like, the cops kill you. I say, how many cops kill black people unarmed? 50,000, 60. I said 14. 14 is still a lot. I said, you know how many black people in America? 46 million.
How many of them are in jail, Brandon Tatum? And what are they in jail for? And what did they do to people like Kevin Strickland? 43 years in jail for a triple homicide that he didn't do anything. He didn't commit. The people who actually committed the murders admitted to it. They served 10 years, and he was in jail for 43 freaking years. So much evil going on.
That's 0.000.
He's just sitting here justifying thin blue line violence. We hadn't even started, guys. Buckle your seatbelts because the ride gets rough.
125%, some crazy number. You get struck by lightning twice in a row before you get killed by a police officer doing nothing. But
how about economically terrorized? I mean, they're doing it all the time. Do you know the revenue that they generate just in speeding tickets alone throughout the entire United States in 1 year is 6.1 to 6.8, not million, $billion. You know what that equates to every single hour? That's $11,794 every hour of or is it a minute? I don't know. It's a crazy number. It's astronomical. Every minute or every hour of every single day, $11,794. That's economic terrorism. That's not safety. That's not road safety. That's not protection. That's not service. That's a protection and service in corporate traffic law racket is what it is. You cannot exclude that from the equation of parasitic puppetry happening in America to Americans every single day at the hands of the people who are supposed to be protecting and serving them. And then the Supreme Court comes along in Descheny versus Winnebago County and Gonzalez versus Castle Rock and says, you know what? Not only should we give them qualified immunity, but check this out. No cop anywhere, local, state, or federal, has any duty or obligation to protect any member of the public anywhere. And to make matters worse, the context of Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, Colorado is Mrs. Gonzalez went to the Castle Rock Police Department to get a restraining order on Mr. Gonzalez, who ended up offing their 3 children, stacking them in a truck, driving to the police department, getting in a shootout, and then they discover the kids' bodies. In that context, even in that context with a restraining order, with little kids' lives on the line and a wife's life on the line, they are under no obligation to protect you anywhere in America. Same with Descheny versus Winnebago County. Gary says, how many channels are you up to now? They're always high impact to me. Keep up the great work, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know. I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot of channels, but you know what? We're going to keep on going. Yeah, you rock, Gary. Thank you. All right. Back to Brandon, soften him up, Tatum.
I had to continue to let my voice heard. We finished the event. We pushed through it because we're not going to let these Antifa nut jobs get the best of us. UC Davis should be ashamed of themselves as a university that they cannot protect free speech on campus. They can't. They can't. It could have been because the big black man was there. The reason why they didn't want to go further. Once I pushed the crowd of them and I pushed the other one down and the soul almost came out, they probably thought twice about, oh crap, we're not ready for a conflict.
That's pretty funny. You got to admit. I mean, he does come up with some good ones. I would like to have a conversation with. I would like to get through to this guy. I have hope that it's possible, man. I have hope that a grain or shred of truth will enter into the souls of these people, and they will actually see the evil that they are propagating and promoting and defending on their freaking huge platforms. I just pray that this will happen.
They're not prepared. They don't have any plan in place that's going to protect.
I am not interested in. I appreciate you, Ray, but I am not. I don't want to own anybody. I just want him to own up to his evil. That's all. You know, I mean, truth will set you free. Truth will set you free. But if you're not a truth bearer, if you continue to cover for lies and make excuses for evil people doing evil things and passing it off as they were just following orders, I can't stomach that. I can't tolerate that. And you can't either. And it's not because we're better people than other people. It's just that we know what the truth is. For some reason, we're not enamored with the thin blue line. We don't have boot polish on our tongues. We're not leather munchers for some reason. I don't know. We could have been, but we're not for some reason. And I feel like it's our duty, our obligation to somehow get through to somebody somewhere so that we can all, just like combat terrorism together. I don't know. Domestic terrorism is still terrorism. Thin blue line terrorism is still terrorism. Terrorism with a smile is still terrorism. It's still tyranny. Look at that cop. He likes me. He's joking around with me. He's asking me how the game was. He's asking me how what kind of gas mileage you get on that? Is that a 350 or a 442? I mean, like, what is that? He's not your friend. The smiling tyrant is still a tyrant. The goofy, jovial, joking around tyrant is still a tyrant. And all right, we'll just keep going. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry.
Protect anybody. These people could come off campus with a gun. How do they know? They could come off campus with other weapons, knives, and stab us. The cops weren't going to do anything. We would have just been stabbed. Then they would have did something after they stabbed us up. That's why this was very, very ridiculous. What's the other clip we have? Oh, I had to get this guy on there. I saw him on Instagram.
Oh, God, here we go. Oh, God. Oh, God.
And I said, this was really funny. His commentary. I wrote a clip.
Man, if you think adults keying Teslas are crazy, watch this.
Watch out. Watch out.
Hey, I didn't even notice that either. Look at this woman in the red knew what was going to happen, and she was recording the whole incident. Look at this cop right here. People are saying the cops weren't on the scene. There are cops on the scene. Multiple cops on the scene. I don't know. What does she do with that sign? What does she do with? Okay, she's got nothing. Is that a she? Got nothing in her hand. I don't know why she touched that sign. But she's recording, or he or she in this red is recording because something was planned here. Some nefarious activity was planned. You know what? I didn't even notice that. Actually, let's see. Looks like Brandon Tatum, which is right here. Okay, did he grab a banner first and then instigate this thing? I wonder if they would have done this. Let's see. What does this say? Bash back? Now, I did not notice this. Watch this. Brandon Tatum, who's got the backwards MAGA hat right here, is going to grab their sign first. Okay, who's this chick on the? Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey,
I got to analyze this.
Hey, Jackson, throw it up.
Okay, so this person with the dog on the leash, this person in green, makes the first advancement to the sign. And it looks like Brandon Tatum ripped the sign first. Pushes the guy off the bike. See, now we'll never know. Yeah, now we will never know. Yeah, Brandon assaulted them. We will never know. It could have been staged. If they would have done that to his tent, if he didn't do that to their sign first. Huh. I did not notice. Sorry, guys. I did not know that happened until just now. I am more than willing to eat my words. We just don't know.
This was a turn.
What they did was wrong, but what Brandon Tatum did was wrong too. He initiated the sign pull.
Point event at UC Davis.
What do you guys think? Looks to me like Brandon Tatum initiated that, and we will never know if what the banner marchers were doing was that they intended on taking the tent and destroying Turning Point's booth.
Where Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, was at. Okay, there's two problems I have here with Antifa tearing up their.
Oh, wait a second, though. Hold on a second. This is the second time, reportedly. This is the second time. Yeah. That's true. Okay, thanks, Gary. They were already there tearing up stuff before. That is true. That is true. That is a huge factor. Okay, so modifying on the fly here.
Canopy and throwing stuff at him. All right, number one, how stupid are you? Do you have any idea how big that man is? Like, that is a man among
I think Brandon Tatum is playing this to stroke his ego, in my opinion.
boys, and that's who you want to pick a fight with? And number two,
Yeah, they did. They encroached on him.
where are the police? They're just sitting.
I just want to be fair about this whole thing. I don't want to be. See, we got. That's another thing. We all got to be willing to admit that we all have some measure of bias in us. We all have some measure of programming we got to get out of us, and it's really difficult to step outside of that. So I admit that I am biased against police. I am biased against politicians, and I have a reason for my bias, but I don't want that bias to cloud my judgment if right things or wrong things are happening. I want to call balls. I want to call strikes. And I know sometimes that there are gray areas and it's not exactly crystal clear cut. Yeah, exactly, Scott. Well said. We all have blind spots, and it's up to us to try to eliminate those blind spots and try to do the best that we can. Yeah, deprogram. Exactly.
There watching Brandon and the rest of the guys from Turning Point defend their territory while it's being destroyed. Do your job. Like, is this what freedom of speech is in our country now? Of course it is.
He couldn't have said. Nobody could say it better, man. I think the cops should have did more, and I'm a pro cop guy, and I'm not blaming the individual cops.
Then that's wrong. Individual cops have to be blamed. Even if you know you're going to lose your job, do the right thing, right? It's never wrong to do what's right. And it's never going to be right to do what is wrong. And it's wrong to stand down in the face of evil. And it is wrong not to do something about evil when it's in your power to do it.
Blaming whatever authority is telling them that they can't get physically and engage or get physical and engage. But here's the caveat. I'm going to explain this and then we're going to go on to the other stories. I understand why, but there's a way around the why.
Here we go.
The reason that the cops don't want to get too jiggy with them, because what if 70, 80, 100, 200, 300 people come out and bombard and attack the cops? They can't just lay there and get beat to death, right? They're going to have to use force against them. And in many cases, it's going to be deadly force.
He's just coming up with excuses. You know what? I'm just going to do what is right. I'm going to do what is right. And if it's within my power to stop evil, I'm going to do it.
And they don't want the optics of police officers shooting people on campus. They don't want that optic. So they'd rather just disengage and let people beat each other up. Now, I would say the best tactic to use is that
then why was he complaining about the cops not doing anything? Why is he extremely disappointed? Why is he so upset about the cops standing down because they got the order to stand down? None of this makes any sense to me.
First time they do this, you go.
This is the same guy, by the way, who made massive excuses for the systemic failure that happened in Uvalde. Guys, listen to me. It wasn't one or two or three dozen. It was 376 Uvalde police officers who stood down while reportedly, because you could hear the gunshots. If you listen to the radio, you can hear the gunshots. You know, the 911 caller said, hey, no, we're in touch with somebody in that classroom right now. And the guy is moving in the building, picking people off. 376 officers from multiple agencies in Texas. I could see somebody writing off the UC Davis and going, well, they're just liberal cops who are just doing what they're told. Texas cops, including the Texas Rangers, did absolutely nothing while a bunch of kids were being picked off inside. One of the cops had his wife or girlfriend, I think it was wife, and he even stood down. And Brandon Tatum made excuses for the Uvalde cops. Not one good cop on the scene. And listen to what the report said. This is just a summary of the report. At Robb Elementary, law enforcement responders failed to adhere to their active shooter training. They had training for this very thing, and they still stood down. And they failed to prioritize saving innocent lives over their own safety. You know why? Because officer safety is more important to them than the Constitution. Officer safety is more important to a Thin Blue Line member than your rights. Officer safety in the in the context of Uvalde, and I mean, this exponentiates itself. This is everywhere at all times. Officer safety is more important than even the most frail, innocent young life among us, to the point where a man will even stand down knowing his wife is in there, staring down the barrel of a gun. And this guy, this Brandon Tatum guy, made excuse after excuse for the Uvalde cops. You don't understand the training. You don't understand the protocol. You don't understand policing. You don't understand that there's a strategy that needs to be implemented. You know what I understand? I understand that some of those women, those parents, most of which were women, tried to force their way beyond the police line to go risk their lives. One lady actually went in there and got two of her kids without a bulletproof vest on, without being all armed up, without pepper spray, without police training. She just went in there. You know why? Because lives are worth saving, and sometimes you got to ignore your life to save somebody else's. And that just ain't a police officer. I mean, you got to be kidding when not 1 in 376. It's such a ridiculous number. It's such a ridiculous number. Not 1 in 376 cops, and not from one agency, as many as 5 agencies, federal, state, and local. Not one guy went in to check to see if the door was locked or unlocked. And you know what? It turns out the door was unlocked. They were too busy barricading themselves in the hallway, or standing outside having a cigarette, or fooling around on their cell phones, while they knew there was an exigent circumstance. But I'll tell you this, when there's not an exigent circumstance, they'll come into your house. When they know they're at the wrong address, they'll come in, they'll flashbang your dog. They'll flashbang your baby. They'll put your life in jeopardy. They'll destroy and ruin your entire house, knowing that they got the wrong house. And after they knew it was the wrong house, they won't do anything to repair that because they got qualified immunity. But let a real exigent circumstance happen, a real emergency where they could really do something that they were really trained for, and somehow, some way, they are cowardly enough to just stand down. And this guy made 1,000 excuses for the Uvalde incident. That's pathetic. It's pitiful. It's cowardly. It's shocking. It's disgusting. I mean, pick your adjective.
And you get the state, you get the county, you get the municipality, and y'all all join forces on campus and you set the tempo.
But they did that. They did that at Uvalde and couldn't set the tempo. Look at him. Look at him just making excuses for the little thin blue line. Oh, they got the courage to sit in a tattoo shop and get sleeved with the Constitution and Bible verses and eagles and American flags, but they ain't got no heart to go in to save no kids. Nope, I can't be bothered with that. Brandon Tatum, you are freaking pitiful. Look at me. Email me, contact@highimpactflix.com. Let's have a conversation. I'll even do it face to face. You are freaking pathetic, man. You are pathetic. And I'm not going to tone it down if I get in your presence. You are cowardly, pathetic, and you're willing to make excuses for cowardly, pathetic, badged, uniformed, militaried up, grade 8 armor-piercing vehicles. You're willing to make excuses for those people who are so heavily armed. They should be and you view them as warriors? Thin blue line pansies. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how gruff you are. I don't care how many steroids you take or how much iron you can press. You didn't go in to save those kids, you pathetic, sniveling parasites. No apologies, man. Brandon Tatum, contact@highimpactflix.com. Let's have a freaking conversation. Put a 1 in the room if you're willing to see that. And if you are willing to see that, copy this link and send it to the Brandon Tatum. What is it? How do you contact him? Yeah, the Officer Tatum is the name of his channel. How do you get in touch with him? Follow me on X at Officer Tatum. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me. Why should we follow somebody who's so pathetic and weak and cowardly? Why should we follow you? Why? I don't see it. I don't know. I don't see it anywhere. I don't see his I only see his YouTube channel and TikTok and stuff. So yeah, we should talk about this. All right, let's get going, because he does a Fox News appearance that's just as, if not more, pathetic.
So that they know when they come on campus.
Oh, wait, let's go back. Wow. By the way, thank you guys for, let's see. Did I miss any super chats? Gary says they were already tearing stuff. Oh yeah. I think I'm caught up on the super chat. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for contributing and engaging in the comment section.
This tactic to use is that the first time.
By the way, I did reach out to here. I'll go back and then we'll play the whole thing in its entirety. I did contact Brandon Tatum on 2 separate live streams where I gave him, I consider substantial. I gave him $10, $20 super chat to get his attention, and he read it and he blew it off. He read at least one of them and he blew it off. So I did say, hey man, I can't remember exactly what I said. If somebody's got a screenshot of it, let me know. I can't even remember what it was about now, but I wanted to confront him, and I am definitely open to having a live stream with him.
People beat each other up. Now, I would say the best tactic.
I don't answer those questions because, I just let the chips fall where they may. I don't really care. If you care about your life, if you care about, oh my God, I might get hurt by this big man, or, something bad could happen to me, then you don't really care about freedom. Because like Patrick Henry, if you really dwell on give me liberty or give me death, very few words, very powerful statements. And if you're just saying it to say it because it sounds good, that's pathetic. But if you really mean it from your heart, you know that, this life ain't worth nothing if you're not going to live in integrity. I'll tell you this, no people will tamely surrender their liberties. No people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily removed from the truth, when virtue is the pinnacle of everything that you're about. It's about virtue. It's about honesty. It's about truth. It's about bravery. It's about courage. It's not about being stronger than the other guy. What was it Sam Adams said? No people tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. On the contrary, when people are universally ignorant and debauched in their manners, they will sink under their own weight without the aid of foreign invaders. If you let go, thank you, John Hanna, for gifting 5 Here's the Deal memberships. If you are not into virtue, if you're not into being a better person tomorrow than you were today, and then exponentiating that in your life and following that as a path of life, what is the use of living? What is the use? I am going to do right, or I'm going to die trying to do right. And if while I'm doing right, I die, well, I guess I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And you can't just quote these things and not mean them. It's really got to be in you. There are plenty of people stronger than me that could completely physically take me down. And my hope would be that I plant some kind of seed of truth in somebody so that doesn't happen. Because, I have people that depend on me. If I go away, life is going to be a whole lot harder for them. But that's the cycle of life. You can't let go of righteousness. That's why I can't stand order followers. You mean somebody's going to hand you a piece of paper and you're just going to do what it says because a paycheck is attached to it? You're going to do what it says because you have higher ups and, oh, wow, if I mess up and I do evil, well, at least I can just blame it on the person who gave me the orders. No. Now, the universe doesn't operate like that. If you did evil because somebody told you to, you are the one who are responsible for bringing the evil in the world. See, that's why I am I'm as critical of the politicians as I am of the law enforcers, but who's more evil? And I'm not saying the politicians are lessened in their evil because they weren't the ones that actually grabbed you and tore off your clothes and stuck their fingers up your rear in a body cavity search looking for a bag of burning plant matter. But if the policy class, the political class, makes the rules and writes them down on these sheets of paper, it goes nowhere. It literally has no teeth. You can write, Brian cannot cross the street. And if I cross the street and there's nobody to enforce that stupid law, and there are way more stupid laws than that, believe me, then it doesn't even matter. It goes nowhere. And evil doesn't even enter into the world except on paper. But you want to 3D that thing and actually bring that into the world and bring that evil to light? Then guess what you have to do? Apparently, you just put on a uniform and you get this shiny little badge and you claim that the person who has this uniform and the shiny badge and the utility belt and the gun has authority to do things to you, where if you did the exact same thing to somebody else, you'd go to jail. You deserve to go to jail. If you put your hands on that guy, if you missed my last video, look at my last video, or the civil rights lawyer, it doesn't matter where you see it, but the guy who's at the car wash, if you walked up to the guy at the car wash and you go, hey, I saw that black guy give you something. What was it? And you just start badgering him and harassing him. And then you step up to his vehicle and then you open his door and you pull him out. And then you put zip ties on his hands and you throw him in the back of your car. And then you take him into your basement. And you deserve to be put away from society because you're a danger to society. But somehow something magically happens in the minds of the brain dead masses. And it's okay to do that if you got a uniform on? What magic is this? What insanity are we living through? That's why I can't stand the thin blue line. That's why I don't give a pass for a guy driving a truck with back the blue on it, whether it's his truck or his girlfriend's truck or a rental truck or whatever. Scrape that thing off. You can't be for that. You can't give the impression that you're for that. Are you serious? If that's burning in your heart, that thing's coming off the glass, or you ain't dry. You're going to be walking, or you're going to get a new girlfriend. You're going to be with a girlfriend who backs the blue? What the frick? What kind of relationship is that going to be? All right, so listen to Brandon Tatum. All right, I'm going to try. I'm going to try like crazy to get through this. We got about a minute, 60 seconds left. Here we go.
Uses that the first time they do this, You go and you get the state, you get the county, you get the municipality, and y'all all join forces on campus and you set the tempo so that they know when they come on campus with their craziness, they're going to get worked. Pepper sprayed, flex baton, you name it, work. And then they wouldn't do it again. But the problem is they're so passive, it emboldens these people to do it with complete completely being absolved of any kind of criminal arrests. They're throwing things on people, criminal damage. I mean, assault. When you throw stuff on people, that's an assault. Criminal damage, threats and intimidation. I mean, you can go down a list of crimes that these people are committing. And if they're not students, they committed a crime on a university campus. In many cases, those are exacerbated or exacerbated charges. But in this world we live in, they just let them do it, which is a shame. All right, let's move on.
Yes, it is a shame. I agree that it is a shame. Okay, it was all I could do. I bit my tongue. Okay, we got through that 15-minute video in an hour and 15 minutes. All right. If this is value added to you, put a 1 in the room. I will try to get through this as quickly as possible. This is where Brandon Tatum appears on Faux News, the Donald Trump channel, the pro-Israel channel, and talks about the same experience. But listen to some of these things that he says here. Thanks, guys, for the 1s in the room. I appreciate it.
Get in there. Get in there. I love that at the end. Get in there. Get in there, police. Please do your job. All right, so much for free speech. On college campuses, protesters tore down this conservative group's tent before an event at UC Davis. The group says that the demonstrators also ripped down the banners, smashed their foam boards, and tried to steal a laptop and an iPad from the group. Brandon Tatum was a guest speaker at this event. He is a Turning Point USA contributor. He's a former Tucson police officer who became very popular on social media because of his conservative law and order views. And
let me just, former Tucson terrorist, okay? Got to admit that this thin blue line, we've got to come to grips with the fact that the thin blue line is a domestic terror organization, no different than other terrorists. Okay, just to set that record straight.
He has millions of people.
I know, Doge. It's hilarious. After he just spoke against UBI, and the guy who's the head of Doge wants UBI. Crazy.
Follow him. Brandon Tatum, good to have you with us today, sir. Thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me on.
So the university basically said, look, nobody was hurt. This isn't a big deal. And we do everything we can to protect free speech on campus. Is that true?
That's the biggest lie and sack of crap that I've ever heard in my life. They could not protect us, and they were not given any real effort to thwart these people who came from God knows where. We don't even know if these were students. They were completely masked. They came and assaulted people. They tore up everything. They stole property. And then they not only did it once, they came back twice.
That's hilarious. I know that's not Brandon Tatum. I admit I love me some state approved. Oh God. Valence. What the heck?
Twice. So all the police officers had every identifying marker that these people were going to be violent, and they still didn't do anything. And
did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? Brandon, this didn't just happen at UC Davis in front of you. This happens guys, this is so freaking important. I got to interrupt here. We're going to play this again. But Brandon Tatum just admitted that violence and criminality and theft happened in front of these police officers, and they did nothing about it. This isn't rare. This happens every day in America. Crimes, they let it go. People who are innocent, they carve into criminals. You are guys at every traffic stop, every day of the week, 1,440 minutes a day, 86,400 seconds every single day that somebody gets pulled over. They are treating you like a criminal. You're not free to go. You're not free to travel. You're not free to open your door and get out. If they tell you to do something, you better do it. If you don't, you're going to get tased, pepper sprayed, drug out of the car, broken window, cuffed, thrown into a rape cage. We cannot not talk about this. This is huge. Listen to this again.
Back twice. So all the police officers had every identifying marker that these people were going to be violent, and they still didn't do anything.
Just to highlight, yes, they do that all the time as a course of their profession. They swear to do it. They don't just swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know what else they swear to uphold? The laws of the state. You know how many laws are stacked against your freedoms? You know how many laws are stacked against your wallets? You know how many law enforcers are willing to enact and enforce those laws against you every single day? Every one of them. There's 720 to 900,000 local, state, federal law enforcers, include sheriffs and deputies in the United States, and every one of them are willing to enact civil asset forfeiture, i.e. legalized armed robbery, against you at any moment of the day. Airport, check. In your home, check. Drag you out of your vehicle, check. Walking on the road, check. Riding your bicycle without a light, check. Have a pet that you're trying to take to the vet. Oh, they'll make sure that you're kneeling on that hot pavement at gunpoint. You better believe it. And the guy who does it, Officer Navarez, is, we didn't tell you he's into domestic violence and he's a wife abuser and he actually lost a job for abusing his girlfriend. That's the sickness that pervades as a course of business, the thin blue line, not just on the UC Davis campus in front of Brandon Tatum. When are you going to wake up, Brandon? This is what the cops are. This is what the cops do. This is who the thin blue line is.
And thank God I was there and others who stood up to him, or we would have all been, getting beat up and injured, when they are supposed to protect us and we are allowed or should be allowed to have the freedom of speech on campus.
Yeah.
And he's speaking like a slave. Allowed? Who allows you, Brandon? People who allow you are your masters. Are you free to do this, or are you allowed to do this? Because if you're allowed and you get a permission slip, like a license, which is only a permission slip from the government to do something you have the perfect right to do anyway, like have a personal protection device or travel down the road in peace without being harassed and threatened, you're a free man and you can operate as a free man. And if in the course of operating as a free man, other men interrupt that freedom, then they are the tyrants. They are the criminals. They are the evil ones. They are the terrorists.
Of course. What did you say in the back and forth? And could you tell, were these students or was this group sent in from somewhere? I know you said that you've spoken a lot of campuses. You've never been part of anything like this before.
Yeah, most campuses, people are peaceful. It clearly was a coordinated group. They were all dressed the same. They had bicycles. They had things to conceal their identity. They came from out of sight. They weren't even on the campus mall where we were at. They came from somewhere else. They came and did their dirt, and then they retreated, never to be seen again. And all of the rest of the students, although some of them were delusional, they still were reasonable and they did not attack people. So this was a coordinated effort. And the thing that bothers me the most, Martha, is that why did the police officers not do anything?
I know.
It's almost as if I'm the only cop there.
Martha, I just don't understand why the police didn't do anything. I mean, crimes were happening and the police did nothing to stop the crime. It's almost like they're not even protecting and serving. I don't understand what's going on, Martha. I think Brandon Tatum knows damn well what's going on, but he's not willing to admit it. Because, see, this is another thing. This is the cancer of having a paycheck attached to doing something that promotes the thin blue line or red politics or blue politics. If you have a dollar sign attached to your platform, your social media or whatever, you will not come off of doing what is wrong if your paycheck depends on you foregoing and running away from what is right. Most people are like that. Truth fears no scrutiny. I'm not saying that truth tellers can't, it's not good for truth tellers to get paid. I think a workman is worthy of his wages. If you're out there telling the truth and people are willing to fund you and support you, that's a separate issue. But Brandon Tatum is actually endorsing and making an excuse for people who do evil because they're just following orders, letting crimes go and then creating crimes where they don't exist. And he gets a paycheck for that. And then he supports people like Donald Trump, while on the other side of it, you got the progressive propagandists and the leftist propagandists promoting corrupt people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are also supported by billionaires who are as corrupt as the day is long. And they get their paycheck by promoting the left side of the left versus right paradigm lie. So when ignoring the truth is attached to a paycheck, people who are not principled will let go of the truth all day long, every day. As long as their bank account is getting filled up, as long as their garage is filled with shiny cars, as long as they can live in their mansion and have plenty of green and plenty of padding, they will sell their souls to the highest bidder. And I am saying that figuratively. I don't know if it's true that people can sell their souls or not. But apparently, people will do anything to trash their frickin' reputations just so they can make a buck. And if it's their gravy train, it's highly unlikely that they will come to the knowledge of the truth.
They didn't do anything to stop this. They saw them punch people and they did nothing.
It must be so frustrating for you as a former Tucson police.
She's laughing. It is not funny. This is not funny.
Police officer, when you see these other police officers, and as I said in the intro, when I hear that, the guy who's just standing by, he's like, get in there. Aren't you guys going to do a little something to stop these people from destructing this property? We have a list of all these Ivy League schools, government funding being cut. There's word that Brown University is going to lose $500 million in grants and research money. So UC Davis, do you think they were concerned about this? They put out that statement saying, free speech is super important to us. Like, don't come here.
I don't think they're very concerned about it because they didn't really do nothing about it. We were talking to the administrative people and we were saying, can you protect us? Are you going to just let these people bludgeon us? And then the police officers, or somebody's telling them to stand down. I mean, they're there, they're ready to go, but they're not going to engage. I asked them specifically, if they come back, are you guys going to use force against them to prevent them from hurting people at this table? I mean, I literally had to tell the police officers, if they come back to the table, I'm going to defend the people who are here. We're not just going to let them beat us up. And they didn't give me a clear answer.
The police didn't give him a clear answer. You know what I find really interesting about this? I'm just now noticing too, that they got the Dow right here. The Dow closed that day almost 2,300. This is on Friday. Closed 2,300. Prior to that, it closed 1,700 down. Primarily because of the market reaction to Trump's, liberty reciprocal tariffs going on. And it's ironic and interesting to me because one of the biggest supporters of Donald Trump is Brandon Soften Him Up Tatum.
They stood there in preparation to do nothing. I guess their visible stature would be a deterrent, which is not really realistic. They have to be able to use force. And there's somebody that's telling them, I don't know if it's the chief, I don't know if it's the university. They're saying, allow people who you cannot identify to come onto campus with weapons and attack people and do nothing about it. They didn't even pursue to arrest anybody. They just watched them do it and they let them go.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating.
Yeah.
He is literally talking about active police criminality. If a cop whose job it is to stop crime allows or facilitates crime like they did on UC Davis campus, then they are criminals. They are corrupt. They are actually offering society a false sense of security. That's why Brandon Tatum is sitting here acting all shocked. They didn't do the very thing that they were there to do. No fake. We know that they do it every day, not just on college campuses, but in the streets and the highways and byways and hedges and behind billboards, while they have their radar and their LiDAR trying to get us on something. That's how evil cops are. They're just trying to get you on something. Like they tore through that Jake guy's truck at that car wash because they were intent on they went through the bed of his truck, the front of his truck, the back of his truck. They lifted up his hood, looked in the engine of the truck. They were trying to get him on something. I'm surprised they didn't flatten their tires and find out if there was a bag inside the tires. When a guy is going out of his way to try to get you on something, he's not there to serve and protect you. He's there to ruin your life. Brandon Tatum knows this, but he's still going to lay cover for him.
You can see that.
I literally wanted to defend every single person there, but
what's even worse, Scott, they even went through his orifice, guys. Talk about dehumanizing, demeaning, demoralizing, perverted.
Didn't want to be seen knocking people out on campus.
You can't.
That's not what I wanted.
I'm sorry. You can't be educated if you aren't exposed to a lot of different viewpoints, and that is what universities are supposed to protect: free speech on their campuses. And so these people should have, at the very least, been reprimanded. We're glad that nobody was hurt in this situation, but clearly it was destructive of property. And Brandon, thank you very much.
Yep, it was destructive of property and people could have died. Well, I mean, what would it have taken for the cops over on UC Davis campus to actually have done something? How bad would it have had to get before they actually did something that even looked close to justice? A general dissolution of principles and morals and manners will surely overthrow the liberties of America all more effectively and more efficiently than all the force of the common enemy. While the people are virtuous, they cannot be subdued. But once they lose their virtue, they'll give themselves away to the first external or internal invader. That's from Samuel Adams. And that is true. The reason cops cannot do what is right is because I don't know if they ever had it or not, but they walked away from virtue. They have no virtue. They have no principle. They have no moral compass. They've turned their minds off. They're not critically thinking. They're just order followers. Evil, rotten, scoundrel order followers. And Brandon Tatum is one of those order followers. So leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. Thank you for being here. If you want to support this channel, just like this video. Before you leave, give this video a like. It really helps with the algorithm. Share this video with everybody you know. Let's try to reach out to Brandon Tatum. I'd be glad to have a discussion with Brandon Tatum. And I will not pull any punches. And I will say exactly how I feel. I don't care if it's in studio. I can't remember. I think he lives in Texas. Maybe not. I'm not sure where he lives now, but I would gladly drive over there and have an in-person sit-down chat with them in the hopes of planting some kind of seed of liberty in his mind, because I feel like we are getting so far down the road with this technocratic state that they're trying to set up that, I mean, I'm trying to remain hopeful in some regard that we can all pull our heads out of our derrieres long enough to effect some kind of change. But it's got to be a massive overhaul, and we don't really have 40 acres to turn the ship around. Officer Tater Hater says, Brian, I don't think Tatum will debate you. He won't even debate Rick Gore or Dominic Izzo. I don't know. So leave your thoughts. Like this video, subscribe to this video. And remember, the price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance, and indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. I say it's high time we stop securing our own oppression, and I say we probably should start yesterday. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for the support. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you in the next live stream.